Good evening. Welcome to the Granville County. Better. Good evening. Welcome to the Granville County May 15th County Commissioners meeting. If I could have Commissioner Cozart lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow with me. Dear God, I want to just thank you for this day you've given us. And God, all day long, you've proven to be a true God. And in our moments of hurt, you've been our soother. In times of uncertainty, you've given us strength. Now as we come, we lean on you to guide us through another meeting. I ask your blessings upon my colleagues on our board, our staff, and all who represent. God, that we be led and guided by your wisdom, by your grace. Help us now, most gracious God, to honor you through our service. And we pray that you get the glory out of all that we do tonight. Continue to bless our county and all of its people in a very special manner. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, fellow commissioners. You have read the consent agenda. I need to know the pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Zelodis J. Commissioner J. moves to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Hinman seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes as it is. Next, we'll move to public comments. They're 3 minutes long, your public comments. We have 2 to speak tonight. I think both have spoken before, so I'm going to acknowledge that you understand the policies that we have regards to public comments. If I could have when you come to the podium, Mr. Blaylock and Ms. Wilkins, if you could give us your name, address, and so forth. Thank you. Mr. Blaylock.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again. I apologize for being up here so much, but this is an issue that means a great deal to me. Most of the people that oppose the ETJ is at the STEM meeting tonight, voicing their concerns there. I believe that the STEM commissioner's mind is completely 100% made up, and it's my hope that I can convince 4 of you to believe that this STEM ETJ is not what's best for Granville County. I can't think of any way that it is better for Granville County if this ETJ were to pass. I've got a lot more than I can go over in 3 minutes, so I'll just leave a copy with you. But I've lived and worked in Granville County my whole life. I've never held a job outside of Granville County, so Granville County is my home, it's my workplace, and it's very, very dear to me. I like the rural lifestyle that we have here, and more importantly, the farming type community that there is. The mayor of STEM, when I first went to the first meeting about the ETJ, said that he just wanted to be able to prevent Butner from overtaking STEM and to control growth around STEM. I believe that that the real concern is that STEM wants to be in control of the growth around STEM. If you were to drive down, and I've got all these different streets and subdivisions written down, I won't bother and waste the time to go over all of them. But if you were to take and drive through there, you would get an idea of the kind of growth that STEM is approving. Houses, as far as you can see on these streets, built just a few feet apart. I kind of feel like a good example would be like if you go to the emergency room here at Granville Medical Center, you're going to sit there for hours and hours and hours We've heard the sheriff speak about needing more funds, and would love to have more deputies on duty and everything. But, you know, we're already kind of got a bigger population than we're already stressing our resources to a certain extent. So I kind of think that the kind of growth that STEM would do would be if you would take and just drive down these streets, you'd be able to see that it would be a lot of growth, which I believe would put more strain on our services. And from a little different perspective, not just in Granville County, not in just in North Carolina, but across the nation as a whole, you know, over and over again, farmland is being turned into subdivisions, and more people are here to eat and less people to grow the food. And there's nothing more important than eating and having good farms. So I would ask you that every time that anything comes before you here at the Granville County Commissioner level, that you could do to support the agriculture and keeping farming go, rather than see more houses pop up. It would be to a good advantage to all of us. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michaela Wilkins.
Good evening, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. My name is Michaela Wilkins, and I live at 3145 Tump Wilkins Road. And as you know, I'm here to ask you to vote no to this STEM ETJ. And I won't take up much of your time because I know that we have taken up quite a lot of your meeting minutes recently. But we just simply want to say, first of all, thank you for hearing us out. The efforts that you have put forth to listen to our concerns and to be knowledgeable on these subjects does not go unnoticed. We greatly appreciate you, and we know that this is sometimes a thankless job that you guys do, so we're very grateful to you. And just very quickly, I would like to say that I know we have talked a lot about the emotional implications and our feelings about this ETJ, but I would like to go into some quick details about the financial difficulties and the actual the facts of what this ETJ will imply for some people. For us, we do not have a particularly long driveway, but in the UDO that we would now be under, if the STEM ETJ is passed, that would mean that after at least a certain amount of time, our driveway would have to be paved. As recently as March of 2021, we received a quote on paving the top half of our driveway just for our own ease, and we were unable to do that owing to the fact that it was going to be roughly $37,000 for the top part of our driveway at this time, not the entire portion. And that's only one of the concerning factors, but keeping up to date with all of the codes mentioned in the UDO would not only create insurmountable financial difficulties for my family, but for absolutely every family and every house in this ETJ area. And I believe that everyone, regardless of how much money they are bringing in or able to save, that they should be able to live how they want to without being forced to comply with codes that they are not able to, while maintaining the health and safety of their families and the way they would like to live. And also, as well as outbuildings. I know many people who have ranch-style homes whose barns are higher than their houses are. If it's a one-story house, that would put them in violation under this UDO, as well as us. It would mean that we're only allowed 2 outbuildings. Well, I have a chicken coop and a duck house, and we also have a woodworking shed and then a tool shed. So that would already put us at a maximum. And these are things that my father built 30 years ago that it would absolutely break our hearts to have to remove just to comply with this ETJ. And there's several other things, but I just wanted to do a quick word tonight. But thank you very much for your time. We appreciate all of you, and have a good night.
Thank you, ma'am. So prior to our next topic, Commissioner Hinman, Commissioner Gooch, and I met with can you hear me? Yeah, no, I apologize. We have met with a group last week Commissioner Gooch, I, and Hinman here regarding the ETJ, and we continue to welcome their comments. The county wants to know everything we can and wants to hear everything we can about this matter, so thank you for your attendance tonight. Our next item. North Carolina General Statute 159-12B requires that the county government hold at least one public hearing on the annual budget to receive comments from the public. At this time, I'd like to recognize our county manager, Drew Cummings, for a brief overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioners. I hope we can all agree that we have had a successful and efficient process over the past 2 weeks since I presented the manager's recommended budget on May 1st. Staff did a great deal to help get our recommended budget ready for presentation on May 1st, and in particular, I'd like to call out again Assistant County Manager Karina Weichel, Finance Director Steve McNally, and all of our department heads for all the work they did in advance of May 1st to get that ready. Since then, we've had 2 budget work sessions here at the Expo. I was glad to see Amanda from the Butner Creedmoor News there both days. I think that it's important that our local news do what they can to help our residents understand what may be the single most important process and document in Granville County every year. The budget work sessions included wide-ranging conversations about lots of elements within the manager's recommended budget. We started the first work session reviewing the operating budgets of each department, and we started that review by separating out the personnel items, because we knew that with the cost of living adjustment and the merit pay, that those were going to be higher pretty much across the board. But I wanted to note tonight that on the operating budget side, not including personnel, we had done a lot to tighten up a lot of departmental budgets, and a lot of them were actually down. And so I appreciate all the efforts that our department heads put towards that endeavor, proposing decreases and even suggesting certain cuts, and being willing to tighten up where historical spending patterns or other changes made that possible. We spent significant time reviewing all of the expansion proposals, including and especially large portions of funding for public safety compensation, other employee pay and health benefit improvements, as well as funding for Granville County Public Schools. Commissioners reviewed the case staff made for a handful of additional positions that across the board will add important new capacity to several departments, allowing them to continue to meet county and organizational needs in appropriate and much-needed ways. These positions include a deputy fire marshal position that will help us keep up with an ever-increasing number of mandated fire inspections, an assistant finance director to help us cover the growing complexity of managing the financial operations of a nearly 9-figure budget operation, several new part-time election specialists, a key new IT position to help manage our server infrastructure and give us additional expertise and backup capacity as we work to keep our IT infrastructure secure from the daily probing of hackers and other bad actors, and a senior tax specialist and several DSS positions, the latter of which receive state cost share funds and can help absorb expanding caseloads and reporting requirements. Commissioners reviewed our fee manual changes, including increases to our inspection fees that keep up with the market and ensure that the cost of inspecting all the new construction in the county are borne by developers. There were also some increases in our solid waste convenience center fees and tipping fees at our landfill that recognize the sharply increasing costs of owning and operating a landfill in Granville County. Overall, I'm really pleased that a more detailed recommended budget informed by lots of board feedback over the past several months seems to have largely met the board's needs and required so little additional work at our work sessions. Honestly, I think that's the way it should be. And with that, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I'm happy for us to open up the public hearing.
Thank you, County Manager. Right now, I'm going to declare a public hearing open and ask that anyone wishing to speak, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. The floor is now open for anyone wishing to speak about the budget. Anyone? Oh. I want to ask again, anyone in the audience wish to ask any questions regarding the budget? Thank you. As a chairman, I'd like to ask the board, do you have any questions? Any comments? County manager, county attorney, do you have any additional questions or comments? I declare the public hearing closed. Let's go to item 5.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
since there's been no one speak against the budget, and doesn't seem to be any more discussion needed on the budget, I'd like to offer up a motion to approve the budget.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Can we do that?
County attorney?
So we spoke this afternoon about some possible small changes to the language of the budget ordinance.
Correct.
And so I think we need to have that final language in front of the commissioners. So I don't think there's any, I'm not anticipating any additional changes needed, but at least we need to make those changes.
In light of that, I'll withdraw the motion.
Withdraw second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you both for speaking up, and thank you, county manager, for letting the board know there'll be some additional language added to the county budget amendment. At that time, again, this session is closed, and we'll move to item 5 unless there's any other objections. Thank you. Sheriff Fountain, the purpose of this is to receive approval for the purchase of one UV light system for Granville County Detention Center. The request as follows, and then Sheriff, I'll let you, the floor is yours.
Good evening. First, giving honor to God and everything that He does and creates for me and my life, to my staff that helps all with the budgets and with this system and process we're going through. I'd like to thank Drew and the commissioners for Ms. Weichel for your assistance in creating, crafting what we are and where we are. I was pleased and honored to be a part of this process in my initial, and I think it worked out well. I learned.
Excuse me, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Folks in the audience, if you could, you can take that conversation outside or disrupting other people that'd like to listen to the sheriff here. Thank you very much. Sheriff, go ahead.
So it was a learning experience for my team and I think, and again, for Drew and you guys on the board, and ma'am, Ms. Weichel, again, specifically for assisting us going through this process and working with us. To Dr. Tony Cozart, we'd like to extend our condolences to you and your family during this time. If you need anything from us, we're here standing ready for you and your family to any support you may need. In 2022, Sheriff Hardy at the time petitioned and did some grant work through the Department of Health and Human Services to look at a UVC light system that will help with eradicating the jail cells. It's a mobile unit where we put in these cells or in the blocks and then any areas that will target viruses, particularly COVID and any other diseases that are touched, hand transferred. And this system will be grant funded. There is nothing coming out of the county budget. It was approved, I think, in 2022. And I think Ms. Weary and John worked together with some of this with Mike Phelps. The initial award was $68,567,000. And of that, we want to ask for permission to use $40,806 to purchase this mobile UVC light system.
Thank you, Sheriff. And if I'll note to the board that the funding are available for purchase from a reimbursable COVID grant awarded by NCDHS, in addition to the UV light system, eliminating or potentially killing bacteria and viruses. It also can eliminate mold and mildew. So is there any question? Yes, County Attorney.
Thank you. I would just ask if the board's inclined to approve this. We do it subject to County Manager and I confirming with Mr. Bayless, who we worked with on this project, the procurement process. No problem at all with approving it, but we did have a couple of outstanding questions about making sure it complied with procurement.
Okay. So subject to the discussion with Mr. Bayless regarding the procurement processes and what process was in place at the time, and then do we bring it back to the next meeting?
It doesn't need.
Can we vote on it and then?
This is time sensitive, so I'd ask that if you're inclined to approve it, and again, I know no reason you shouldn't, go ahead and approve it, but we do need to confirm prior to actually purchasing the equipment that procurement process was followed appropriately.
So I just want to make sure I understood correctly. Can we vote on it or not? Or
You can vote on it.
Okay.
You can authorize the expenditure of funds, but make it contingent on the review and approval of the procurement process.
Okay. Do I have a
Motion to
motion?
approve.
Second motion.
Okay. And so I just want to make sure too that within that motion that we're stating that, Commissioner Gooch, if it's okay with you, that we state that we approve it with the understanding that the county attorney, county manager, and Mr. Bayless review the appropriate documentation to make sure the procurement process was followed. And with that in place, then it would be so moved.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion?
I do have one minor question. What are we doing with the extra money that was awarded?
It's at your discretion, ma'am. That's the only thing we wanted out of it. We're not going to utilize it. It'll go back into the grant fund award.
That'll be part of the questioning that we have with Mr. Bayless, I assumed.
My understanding was that was a ARPA grant. In other words, it came with federal ties to it, and those funds would lapse. So if they weren't needed for this purpose, they would go back to the state.
Okay, so that would be money that goes back to the
That's
state.
my
goes
understanding. I
back to
can't
federal.
guarantee you that, but that's my understanding of it.
Okay, all
I
right.
can look at it in more detail.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion beyond what has been stated by Ms. Hinman? And the motion was made by Commissioner Gooch and second by Commissioner Cozart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that you are aware we are having an active shooter training at the courthouse tomorrow. We're closing the courthouse at 4 o'clock. So you're cordially invited to come down, take part of it, and what we're going to do to work with the judges to protect our courthouse and our citizens moving forward. That's just one step. And I appreciate everything that you ladies and gentlemen are doing for our office. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
We're now moving to item 6, which is the South Granville Memorial Gardens Board of Trustees. And the purpose of this is to make appointments and reappointments of the South Granville Memorial Garden Board of Trustees. The purpose for which the Board of Trustees is formed is to create a cemetery board of trustees to maintain and manage certain cemetery property in Granville County under the name of South Granville Memorial Gardens Association. The affairs of the organization shall be governed by the Board of Trustees, composed of 7 persons appointed by the Granville County Board of Commissioners to serve at their discretion. The terms of Darlene Beck, Keith Bullock, and Lawrence Wade Lunsford have expired. All have expressed they wish to continue to serve per the attached email. And of course, there's a list there of others that are serving. The Granville, okay, do I have a motion to recommend Ms. Beck, Mr. Bullock, and Mr. Lunsford?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is number 7, Ms. Weichel. And this is to review the proposed revisions of the Granville County Personnel Policy. Assistant County Manager Karina Weichel will now present.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.
So periodically, we do need to make adjustments to the personnel policy to address changing needs or to provide additional clarification on policy application. The last policy was revised, the revision occurred in February of 2022. Several areas of the policy needed to reflect the new biweekly and 28-day pay cycles, as well as us removing the hiring rate from the FY24 pay plan. So at this time, we also conducted a full review of the policy to address any other needs. I just wanted to let you know as well that employees were given an opportunity to review and comment on the changes. We did receive one suggestion, which was to further clarify the definition of family members for the bereavement leave. And we've incorporated that into the final draft that was included in your board packet. The summary of key revisions and a red line version of the proposed policy was included with your board materials, and I'm just going to briefly touch on some of the changes. We really didn't have a lot of significant changes. As I said, we did this back in February of 2022, but there were several that I wanted to be sure and highlight. Article 3, Sections 1 through 9, these changes were related to shifting from the monthly pay schedule and removal of the hiring rate from the pay plan. Continuing in Article 3, Section 11, we added wording to restate existing policy that exempt positions are not eligible to be paid for compensatory time. Section 12 provides additional details for on-call standby compensation. Section 13 reflects the new 28-day and biweekly work periods. Section 18 provides additional clarity on what types of certifications are eligible for pay incentives. Moving to Article 6, Section 10, we did add something to the tuition reimbursement to cap it at a maximum of $2,000 per fiscal year and a maximum of $10,000 over the course of employment. In Article 7, Section 10, we are codifying a current practice, which was transferring any any annual leave balances above the 225-hour maximum to the employee's sick leave balance if they separate from employment. In Article 7, Section 17, this is the only real significant change to benefits. We are requesting that we expand the bereavement leave policy to allow for 5 full days of leave with pay for the death of a spouse, a child, or an employee's parent. Based on the county attorney's review, a planned holiday schedule exception for non-shift personnel was removed from the draft that you have in front of you, and a requirement was added for employees who are requesting voluntary shared leave that they sign a release to have their name disclosed as part of that request. That's been added since the draft that's in your packet. So our recommendation would be just to have the board review it. We're not anticipating any action at this meeting. We want to give you time to look it over, and we would bring back a final policy document on June 5th and ask for your approval at that time. Happy to answer any questions.
Do any board members have any questions regarding these policy revisions?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just make one comment on number 12, well, I guess it's number 7, Section 17 on bereavement. Very, very happy to see the 5 days. I think there are a lot of entities that have 3 days, but I think so much goes on there with that, and sometimes travel is involved and so forth. So just happy to see that. And just want to throw out, just as a thought, as you continue to look at this, if siblings were discussed, just a question, not to discuss tonight, but just throw that out. But I really love the 5 days.
Thank you. We do have a bereavement leave. I think it's 2 days. It might be 3, but I think it's 2 for any other family member. But we really felt it was important for someone who's living in the home where you may have to care for the arrangements to give them a little additional time.
I'll also just like to say thank you for looking at that. I think it's the bereavement. Believe me, talk with me later, I can tell you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for looking at that.
So I was reviewing them, and you're going to give us time to do that, so thank you. And any other questions by commissioners? I'm sitting here going like, I got a question, but I'll review, but thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I don't think there's an item to vote on, so unless there's any more questions, I want to ask Ms. Weichel. Thank you very much.
That's right. And if you have a question in the meantime between now and June 5th meeting, always feel free to ask. You get you an answer.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Item number 8, budget Budget amendment to provide funding for additional FY 22-23 KARTS needs. Actually, County Manager, I'd like for you to take this one here, and I will tell you ahead of time that I do have some things that I'll be asking
Okay,
of you and Mr. J, if Mr. J wants to respond.
sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this budget amendment is to add two separate amounts to the amount that the county originally budgeted for KARTS in the current fiscal year. The first amount that we're adding is approximately $19,000, and that's the difference between the full ask that was made for the current year and what the county budgeted this year, which was the same as the previous year. And so of the 4 counties that support KARTS, 2 of them budgeted the full amount at the beginning of the year. The third one has since approved this additional increment, and so I feel good recommending that we approve that. Additionally, since Interim Director Dr. Mary Young took the helm of KARTS in maybe December, I think, I started meeting with her fairly regularly in January. Some of the current financial situation of KARTS has become clearer, and that has some implications for this year's budget and helping them make it through this year, and also for next year's budget. In our budget work sessions, for example, we went through some of the additional funding necessary for them for next year. But in the current year, there's $75,000 additional dollars that each of the 4 counties needs to approve, and to my knowledge has already or will be approving for KARTS to help them again financially make it through the rest of the year. And so the total amount between that initial $19,127 and the $75,000 additional ask is $94,127 that would be added into the current year appropriation for KARTS.
Any commissioner, what's the pleasure of the board? Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner J and Ms. Hinman second. Are there any questions from any commissioners?
At our budget meeting, we discussed there were some issues with the possible, that there was some, are we up to date on all their accounting?
So we're still working on that. They have shared a fair bit. They're behind a little bit on their audited financial reports and are still even working through, I think, second and third quarter, reconciling the expenditures from the current year. So again, they've been down a number of key staff, including a finance director and an executive director. So they've been definitely challenged to kind of keep up with their own accounting. I can tell you that the 4 county managers' offices, multiple staff from each of the offices, are quite tuned in and paying close attention to this, and will continue to pay close attention to it until we feel comfortable that the issues that sort of caused this financial distress are resolved. So I think there's still more documentation coming that will help make me feel even better, but I do recognize how critical a resource KARTS represents for the citizens of the county, and don't want a small increment of funding from this county to be the difference between them being able to continue serving Granville County and not.
Any other commissioners? My question was that that's about a $38,000 increase between the 94 and what we did last year, somewhere in that ballpark, 56. And I just wanted assurances that if we commit to this and if we find something or something that's irregular, that we are have the right to withdraw funding at that point and or cease any additional funding.
Correct. So this adds the money into the budget, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow a $94,000 check will be written to KARTS. And the same is true for the additional funding approved for next year.
Okay. So there is a caveat in that the due diligence will take place before the funding goes, and should there be something that pop its head up that we were not expecting, then we have the right to say, take a pause and reevaluate it as a board.
Absolutely.
Okay. Did I ask for motions already? Yes? There was second. That was discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
But, Mr. Chairman, I assure you that every possibility and everything, our audits is being caught up, and stuff was lacking because of not, our financial officer left, took the papers, and then it started the Granville, and that's put us behind.
I just want our board to have the right to do that in the event we run into something totally unanticipated, and I understand.
As the agreement was made years ago when it first started, you have the right anytime you want to pull out.
Well, we don't want to do that. It's a valuable service. You just want to make sure that we're being diligent.
I'll just let you know. Let you know.
Yes, sir.
Right.
County manager, it's your opportunity for a report. Do you have one?
No further items.
County attorney. Presentation by our boards. Commissioner Rob Williford.
None tonight, sir.
Commissioner Sue Hinman.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to let you know, as you stated earlier tonight, that we did meet on May 10th here at the Expo with 44 people from the that had concerns about the STEM ETJ. The very big majority were very, 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 very much, did you all hear? Very much against the ETJ. So I just wanted to let everybody know we did hear them. And it was a very nice conversation that was held by all, and I was very appreciative of them wanting to spend that time and talking with us. I also went to the culture event this weekend, this Saturday, and it was very, very, very nice. The weather held off nicely, and there was a lot of wonderful food and people out there teaching us dances and how to say different things in different cultures, and I don't know how to say any of it. But I did watch and try to learn. But it was a very nice day out there for Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hinman. Commissioner Cozart, I'm going to hold off on you and allow you to go last tonight. Commissioner Timothy Karen.
No report.
Commissioner Jimmy Gooch.
Yes. I was also with Sue and Russ at the STEM Citizens Against the ETJ meeting. And it was great to be able to talk with them and hear their concerns, hear their complaints. And I enjoyed the interaction. It was very respectful. Just one item, well, a couple of items. One of them I happened to overlook early in the month. This is Motorcycle Awareness Month. And the slogan is "Look twice, save a life." So be aware that people on motorcycles are out and about, including me. I imagine some wouldn't mind running over me at times, but that's kind of beside the point. But anyway, there's when you're mowing your grass, if you will, be careful with your clippings and don't just blow them out in the road. That's if a motorcycle goes across it, they can usually survive if they're going in a straight line and don't have to put on brakes. But if they're in a curve, they have to put on brakes. It's like you're being on top of ice. So it's very dangerous. And last of all, the Butner Summer Festival is coming up on the 2nd and 3rd of June. On the 2nd, they have a festival dance at 6 p.m., starting at 6 p.m., and on the 3rd, all day is the Butner Summer Festival, formerly known as the Butner Chicken Picking. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Zelodis, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just also just like to say, I thoroughly enjoyed along with Commissioner Hinman Sunday at the Culture Fest. I didn't know we had that many cultures in Granville County. I mean, it was nice. Like you said, we thought we was gonna get rain on because I stood there. I said, "Sue, I feel a drop of rain," but it held off, and it was nice. And if you get a chance, the next time they have it, please come out, because it is very interesting. to know how many different cultures and language that people right around you can speak. And also on some Virgin Island is having that Summerfest. That is May the 27th. Come on out. The parade started at 11 o'clock. Come on out and let's have Burma stew, barbecue, and a lot of good time and music, and all different type of craft. That's it. At Virgin Island Summerfest, May the 27th. And also on May the 28th, the church that started Oak Hill, Premises Church, Presbyterian Church in Oak Hill, they are celebrating their 200-year anniversary. That's Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. If you haven't seen a little white church that's set back in the woods, come on up to Oak Hill to that service, and you really the first person that Camp Oak Hill soldier that Camp Oak Hill was buried in the back of that church. It's an old soldier that went to the camp up there. One of the relatives of the Wesses and the Mordens and all them was up there, and they're looking for a high day that day. Please come out that day. And also just like to let you know that anytime you want to be a visitor to Oak Hill, come on up to Oak Hill. You want to drive in the scenery, God's land, in a pretty place, drive up 96. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. We're going to hire you for all our public service announcements in the future, because you do a good job there, so thank you. A couple of things I'd like to touch on before Commissioner Cozart speaks. And I may ask you, Ms. Weichel, a few questions here, if you don't mind coming up front, and regarding broadband. I was looking at our Facebook feed regarding the broadband at the service and the grant in which we obtained. And I think folks need to understand that the board did their due diligence in how we processed that grant and what Ms. Weichel did, and that we're limited in a lot of regards on a couple factors. One is that underserved means basically no internet. And if you have some semblance of internet, you're not considered underserved per se. And then the other item would be that we have to have internet service providers that are willing to come. So if you could touch on those two, because I think some folks think that that we're not trying or not trying very hard, but we actually put a lot of work into this, and we actually set aside additional funding for other parts of the county should specific grants become available.
Yes, we have, Chair. And I also wanted to mention and give a shout out to our Public Information Officer, Terry Hobgood, because he's been really diligent about responding to those comments. We knew when we put a press release out and we posted on social media that we would get those types of responses. Because there is confusion out there. There's people just don't understand what the county can do, what the role is, and here in North Carolina. As you mentioned, we have worked very hard at this. We've been working on this great grant award that we recently received for over a year and a half. And it's true that the state law prohibits us from building infrastructure ourselves. So our primary role is to partner with providers. And those providers are for-profit businesses, and so they're looking out for their bottom line when they're analyzing an area to build infrastructure. They're going to look at the number of homes that they can connect with and how much profit they can make. And so our role in supporting them and providing funding for them is to encourage them to expand more. The GREAT grant had certain parameters that eliminated many homes or many areas in Granville County from even being eligible. It was unfortunate that our project alone was reduced by about 40% when it went through the whole process of being reviewed by the state. We do have a second application still under review. I don't know when DIT plans on announcing the second round of great grant application awards, but we do have another project with Charter that's more mid-county and some that dip into the Grissom area, I believe. But eligibility factors change. There are some grants coming down the pike with the completing access to broadband grant as well as BEAD funding that we hope to be able to partner with and be able to bring more of these projects to the county.
Thanks, Ms. Weichel. I think it's important the citizens know that we are working hard to get it, to do what we can, but we're limited on our capabilities. One is by the law, and the other is about actual internet service providers that are willing to jump into the arena at the cost of which we're asking, and it is a profit-based proposition. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And finally, for me, I think May 17th, we're going to have a fire commission meeting. I encourage all citizens to come to those meetings, hear about our fire commission, decisions be made, how we're spending fire tax dollars and so forth. So May 17th, it starts at 6 p.m. It is here at the Expo. We encourage you to come and see what happens. And finally, I'd like to give Commissioner Tony Cozart all the time that he needs, and I want Commissioner Cozart to know this board loves him, and we care about him and his family, and we're thankful that he's a commissioner, and we're very sorry for what his family's going through.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and I'm just so thankful to this board and the community. It seems like they were saying, when it rains, it pours, and it seems like it's just been one thing after another within my family, and I'm so grateful for all of the outpouring of love over all these incidents. At our last meeting, I was absent because I was with my wife with our niece's homegoing in Maryland, and today my oldest brother, Thomas Cozart, transitioned from labor to rest, and I just want to say a word or two about him. He almost was like a father figure and was extremely proud of me. I remember the day I became a commissioner, and you would think he was like a kid in a candy shop, all excited and always had his love and support. But when I debated coming here tonight or not to come, I called Chairman May, and I had been hanging in the balance whether to come or not. But then I thought about it, and my brother Thomas was really all about service. Up at the Antioch Volunteer Fire Department, and the reason I became a Mason, Thomas called me one Saturday morning and he said, "What are you doing?" One Friday, "What are you doing tomorrow?" On Saturday morning, and I said, "Not anything." He said, "I need you to go help me do something." I said, "What the hell is it?" He said, "I need you to put on clothes. We need to go prime some tobacco." I said, "Thomas, prime tobacco?" He said, "Yeah, I need you to go with me." What had happened, one of the brothers in the lodge had suffered a heart attack and passed. And he was rallying brothers together to go and save the crop for his brother. And I went, and as I went, and his widow was at the tobacco bench. And for those who may not know, Brother Eaton, the tobacco bench is where a lot of good work took place. You put the tobacco on the stick. The widow was in tears, crying because the brothers and their wives had come to save the crop. It was on that day that I decided I wanted to be a Mason. And Thomas always had this great love for widows and orphans, and he committed himself to public service. So today, as I come to this particular meeting, there is a certain emptiness, but a lot of gratitude for what a large family can mean and what it can do. And I wanted to just take a moment and honor my brother Thomas tonight. And I think he'd be happy that I'd be here tonight to fulfill the duty that I assumed. And I just ask all of your continued prayers for my family as we go forward. Thank you.
If we could now have a moment of silence for Thomas and the Cozart family. Thank you, and thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Cozart, for honoring your brother in such a gracious way. And the beautiful thing about our faith is that we know there'll be a reunion. Well, now moving on to our next item. Notice a special joint meeting workshop on Recreation Master Plan update. County Manager, would you mind, well, I'll make the notice, it's fine, to announce a joint special meeting. All interested persons, please take notice that the Granville County Board of Commissioners will hold a special joint meeting with Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Advisory Committees on Monday, June 5th, 2023 at 5 p.m. at the Expo Center, here this location. The purpose of the special joint meeting is for the final workshop on the Recreation Master Plan. So the public has been duly notified, and again, I'm going to take this opportunity to continue to state what most commissioners state every meeting, and that is, if you want to be involved, reach out to your commissioners. There are committees to serve on. We need people to serve on committees. We want people to serve on committees, and it's your county, and I can't think of a better way other than holding an elected position or just doing whatever you want to do to help your county, an opportunity right here to do it. So next topic is a change of our July meeting date. This is to notify the public of a change in a meeting date for July meeting. All interested persons, please take notice that the Granville County Board of Commissioners will meet on Monday, July 10th, 2023, and that's July 10th at 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Granville Expo and Convention, 4185 Highway 15, Oxford, North Carolina, for the regular meeting. This changed for the previous advertised date of July 3rd due to the holiday. So thank you for understanding that we would like to enjoy our 4th as well. Any other matters on the board that, or from the county manager at this time? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Sorry, I forgot when it was my turn to offer a report. There is an event this coming Saturday that is the culmination of quite a few months of work on the part of county staff. When I started here in October, one of the first things that I did was take a tour of all the county buildings with interim manager Doug Logan, and in a couple of our empty spaces, including the old jail, and there's a storage building behind our Williamsboro Street facilities, it struck me that there was a great deal of excess old county property, desks, chairs, old filing cabinets, things like that, and made a commitment and began work with staff to try to figure out how to appropriately offload that stuff so we could think a little more clearly about how to use those spaces more productively. And through a great deal of hard work on the part of Karina, Terry Hobgood, Gary Bowen, and his staff who brought I don't know how many box truckloads of this furniture right behind this space. We had a giveaway this past Saturday for local nonprofits, and this coming Saturday from about 9 to 1, members of the public are invited to come sift through what's left and take any items they like. That's our goal, to make sure that we take as little as possible to the landfill. So 9 to 1 this Saturday behind the expo here under the covered area. We'll be trying to find good homes for any of those additional items.
Thank you, County Manager. I'm sorry I'm looking at the next item, but thank you, sir.
This is on the agenda, but we need to ask you.
Okay, I got it. All right. Thank you. Any other comments?
Commissioner Gooch, aren't they having the
Household hazardous waste.
household hazardous waste out just Saturday? So all
I think that's right. That's out front here, so they got all the specialized vehicles and so forth out front, and the old furniture giveaway is out back.
okay.
Thank you. Great point.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to, this meeting will come to a close, and we'll be going into closed session, discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by a public body, agreement on tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body for negotiation. So we'll be going to closed session by GS 143-3118, attorney-client privilege. Do I have a motion?
I move that we go into closed session.
Mr. Williford?
I'll second that if we can have a bio break in there.
Hinman? and we'll take a bio break before that, a 10-minute bio break. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be after the bio break going into a closed session. Thank you.